And so once you've decided on maybe a handful of outputs which you consider to be really important, then we move on to process. What is the process that generates that output or that handful of outputs? And what you find is if you've been very specific in mocking up and designing a particular output that you're going to try and generate, the process becomes linear because it's a very exact set of interactions that will generate a very specific output.
Mm.
Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, it does. I'm wondering if there's a scope or a scale that you would limit this to.
I believe in the Pareto principle being that 80% of the value lies in 20% of the stuff. So when we were talking about asteroids, you might be blowing up five and choosing one. That's the kind of rule. So for an agile or product development team, all of these layers of inspection and discussion and wrangling, you're pursuing that 20% as a team. That's your job, finding that 20%, hunting it out, hunting that value.
Mm.
I like the term hunt the value because that feels like what you're doing when you're using OOPSI, hunting out the valuable outputs. And then you're thinking about the most useful example of that output to choose to illustrate. So say I was looking at a payslip. There's millions of different types of payslips you could generate with loads of different sorts of outputs that would look different depending on the process leading up to generating them. But if I choose the most common type of payslip, the 80% type of payslip to start with, it's going to help us put down all the edge cases to get started. You'd still be in Miro at this point. You'd have brainstormed a bunch of outputs. You would have chosen some. Then you would have started to mock them up, making them as realistic as possible. And then you will collaboratively brainstorm the process. So this is a bit like story mapping now. You're saying, okay, what are the different steps that takes? So going back to the ATM example, card entered, card evaluated, PIN entered, PIN checked, withdrawal request. You'd basically map it all out. Imagine in Miro, you'd have some post-it notes that would be linear because you know exactly what you want to come out. So now you've got the process. Obviously, you haven't captured everything because you've left loads of what ifs along the way, but you've been able to collaborate as a team around a really important process for probably a happy case scenario for the most important type of output that's going to help you generate the outcome that you need. And there might be a handful of them. So it might be a statement and an updated balance. You might need them both to be confident that's worked. That's okay, but it's the same process. So the process is linear. And then that's a really nice place to start thinking about the scenarios and start thinking about the implementation details.